welcome to Welcome Country Credits. I'm here with Rob McNelley, a popular guitarist around town, and I know you do some other work in the industry, and it's really great to have you. So how are you?
Good, good. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome, yeah. Before we jump into like your work as a guitarist and all the other stuff you do, can you just bring us up to speed on like where you grew up and how you got to Nashville and involved in music in the first place?
Okay. Well, I grew up in basically Columbus, Ohio. And right out of high school, I just started playing bars with a bunch of different bands and kind of did everything that I got myself to a point where I was making a living playing music pretty quickly, but it wasn't a great living, and there seemed to be a ceiling on what I could achieve there without an industry. And this was before the internet and all that. We're talking like early 90s. And so I knew I had to get somewhere where there was like an infrastructure with more I don't know, opportunities to make more music and be part of a bigger creative community. There are great musicians up in Columbus, where I'm from, and lots of talented people and great music up there going on in the underground world up there. But that's just it. A lot of it stays underground, and I wanted to get somewhere where things happen and bigger opportunities might be able to present themselves. So I moved here in 95. I've been here a long time. Just got busy here, and one thing just led to another. That's
So
kind
you've
of.
seen the city grow tremendously.
Oh yeah, yeah. When I first moved here, yeah, I mean, it was a whole different place. So
Yeah, I mean, I've only been going back and forth about 10 years. So, but before that, I'm sure, because I've seen the growth is crazy, but you're
yeah,
right.
even in the last 5 years, I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah, it's like a new city. So when you got there, was your plan to be a guitarist or was it to be a writer or
Well, I think I was open to anything. I played in a lot of cover bands up in Columbus, but I also always had like my own band, and would book tours, trying to make that the main thing. And so I was very open to being an artist, or being a writer, or being a guitar player for hire.
right?
So yes, it was just kind of like, I'm gonna let this town show me where I'm valuable the most.
Yeah, that's a great mindset.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean stop doing all the other things if one thing becomes your bread and butter, because I believe that creativity just comes in whatever form it comes in.
Yeah.
So I didn't shut myself off to anything else. Guitar playing became my money making thing. And I love it.
Yeah. So growing up, did you play, did you get, were you like into lessons or were you self-taught or?
Self-taught. I was in a house. My dad was a musician. He was the lead singer and primary songwriter in a group called McGuffey Lane. They were actually on Atco Records, and they actually came down here and made records. They were kind of a country rock
Cool.
band. And so I was around musicians that could show me this chord, that chord, this lick, this guitar, this is how you dial in an amp or whatever. I mean, I had teachers, but I didn't take lessons. I learned everything by ear.
Cool. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think a lot of people get confused with like what a session guitarist does versus like being in a band and touring with the band. So
Yeah.
do you want to like kind of describe what you do on a regular basis as a session guitarist and then um I guess like how popular it is in Nashville and like what it's all about?
Okay. Yeah, well, the difference between being in a band and being a session musician is that if you're in a band, you can really hone a style around, if you're the writer of the songs, or if somebody else is the writer of the songs, that you're looking to define a sound.
Right.
When you're a session player, you're helping other people, many other people, hopefully define their sound. And you're just part of like, maybe guiding it creatively a little bit where you can, but you're ultimately there to help their vision come to fruition. They're the ones that are on the front of the record. You're somewhere in the tiny letters if there's credits, you
You're
know.
here.
Exactly. Or here on this great podcast or web page, whatever, you know, and so anyway, that's the difference. So you kind of have to realize that, like, you know, it's not about you, it's about helping them get
Mhm.
what they like out of you. And you can be creative and suggest things and be part of steering it somewhere they weren't expecting if they're open to that. But maybe they're not always, you know, and so you just kind of have to, you know, you're hired, you know, to
Yeah,
be
that was
there.
kind of one of my questions, being that you are hired. Is it like appropriate to suggest, or I guess it depends on the vibe in the whole room anyway, but um
Yeah, I mean, as long as I've been doing this, which is now, I don't know, a little over 15 years as a session player primarily,
Mhm.
it's been in an era where, you know, yes, suggestions are welcome, but you know, the artist and the producer kind of get the final say on whether your suggestion is the right direction to go or not. And the goal is to just put your ego completely out of the way, even if you have a great idea that you fully believe in, and it gets shot down. It's just maybe doesn't line up with their vision, you
Right.
know. And that's all that is, you know.
So how does scheduling work for this? Is it ever like predictable? Is it booked months out? Is it like last minute ever?
You know what? That is we all talk about this, my session musician friends. Scheduling is actually one of the most complicated parts of this whole thing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because you kind of you take whatever, if you've got an open day on the calendar and somebody calls you for something, you take it.
Yeah.
But maybe that's a demo that they're calling you for, which pays half of what a record pays, and then maybe, you know, and then there's other scales in between. We don't have to get all bogged down with that, but basically, you take whatever calls come in, and then if a better offer comes onto the table, maybe it's a producer you work for all the time, or it's just a record versus playing a demo. I can play on a demo for the same amount of time and make half the money on music that has a high chance of never being heard again, or I
Mhm.
can play on this record for this artist, and it'll pay more, and it will keep my relationships good in that sphere of the music business. And that's what we're all shooting for. So sometimes you have to bail on something to get to, because
Mhm.
something better came in. It just or I didn't even want to say the word better, just a better situation for your goals. And you know, yeah, it gets complicated, as you can imagine, because sometimes people call last minute, sometimes people try and book a month out, and sometimes, you
Wow.
know, it's just always coming at you, you
That's
know.
and so now if you booked, like, I know you've done work with like Miranda and Luke and Lainey and a lot of big names, which is super cool. So if they were working on like an album, do they give you all the songs ahead of time, or do you walk in and just kind of learn them?
Well, if you are designated as the session leader,
Hmm.
that typically means, not always, typically means they'll send you the songs like a day or two ahead so that you can write the charts for all of the musicians that are
Right.
going to be there. Uh, but no, typically, I mean, even if I chart those songs, I charted them and then completely forgot about them until I get to the session again.
Wow.
It's not like I learned them.
Right,
I,
right.
I might kind of remember them when I hear them again on the session and go, oh yeah, that's that one or whatever. But largely we're just walking in blind and hearing it for the first time with a chart in hand, and then we might discuss it for a couple minutes before we go out and play it, and then we just go out and play it, you know.
That's so cool. You guys are
It,
so talented. I
well,
mean,
thank you. It's that's usually the thing that blows people away that step into this world that don't know what it's about.
Mm.
But you got to keep in mind, we've been doing this so long. By the time you get to play on records, you've usually done a lot of sessions. So that reaction time and the ability to get to your instincts quickly is
Yeah,
developed.
true. So now do you guys all bring your own instruments, or is it mostly in the studio already?
No, we bring all our own gear. We have cartage companies. If you get really busy, you have to have somebody to set up your gear and bring
Yeah.
it in. You just can't physically get it all there.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a favorite guitar to play?
Wow, that question used to be a lot easier to answer when I had fewer of them. No, when it comes to my work, no. It's whatever I need for that song or that part. That's and it doesn't matter what it is. But I've got a couple of my dad's old guitars after he passed, and I have, those would probably be my favorites. I've been playing them since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
yeah,
So no, acoustic or electric?
both.
You like both?
Yeah, I play both, I get hired for both.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. So do session players have like management behind them that books for them, or is it all booked directly through you guys?
Well, you know, I think we're approaching a time where if you are at a certain level, typically not. Uh, I think there could be useful things to have a manager if you were trying to redirect your career towards producing
Mhm.
starting to do some other things outside of sessions. Just for the scheduling alone, it would be, there might be some players out there, but typically no. We take all our own calls and look at our calendar and say yes or no.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
wow. That's pretty fascinating though.
yeah.
Yeah. So like when you grew up, was it always country? I mean, I know you do primarily country now, but was that a big influence for you, or were you into other
Yeah.
things?
Yeah, since my dad was kind of a country musician,
Yeah.
yeah, that was in the house a lot. Uh, growing up, I guess I looked at country music like it was just always on, whether I went to my grandparents' house or at my house. Later on, when I started getting into my own music, or being able to like go to a record store and buy a record, God, I know I'm talking about something that doesn't exist really this way anymore, but that's how it happened for our age group, and I didn't seek out country music because that was in abundance,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, so I found other things: rock and roll, blues, jazz, soul music, and all of it kind of gets in here and keeps getting comes out, and what you do. So
Yeah. So was there like a favorite out of all the stuff you've recorded over the years? Is there one that stood out and it just stuck with you? Like you felt you really related to the whole process and song?
yeah, there have been a lot of them. I mean, the current one that I keep coming back to when I'm out and about and I'll hear it, that I really love is Lainey Wilson's "Heart Like a Truck."
Mhm.
Um, I love what happened there. I mean, obviously you always remember like the first big song you played on that kind of put the ball into motion, and that was Lady Antebellum Needs You Now for me. That was kind of when people said it started hearing me a lot on the radio and going, "Oh, that's kind of cool. We should check him out." So I mean, there's special things like that. I mean, the Jon Pardi stuff has a lot of fun guitar playing on it.
Does.
Thanks. And
So
like the Luke Combs stuff is cool. I mean, there's a bunch of it. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of it that I'm when I hear it out and about or whatever, it's like, oh yeah, that was
yeah.
fun to make.
Do you feel like you want to like ever go up on stage and just be playing it live too? Or are you so used to just being like what you do?
Well, I play on all the Parker McCollum stuff, and he asked me, his guitar, he had to play a show in Nashville and his guitar player couldn't be there for some reason. So he called me and asked me if I would fill in. And so
Wow.
I actually got to do that. I think it was last summer. And that was really fun, you know. But you know, I love playing live. I don't know that I would necessarily want to go out
Touring.
on the road unless the situation was right. But I love playing around town. I love when it happens, and I love doing that. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, they're
I'm
completely different, but yet you're getting kind of the same experience in the end because you get to hear the song and say, I was a part of that. But um, yeah, it's really interesting.
yeah. I mean, you know, and I love what I love those Parker McCollum records. Those are, you know, those are
Oh
fun to
my gosh, so good.
yeah.
Um, yeah, that's really interesting. So, how many like when you're in a studio, how many times does it take to like does it normally just come naturally and it's kind of like this one song gets done pretty fast, or is it a lot of takes on your end? Like, are you in the studio for a long time? If you're, I guess, like take an album for example, how long would you be working on that one album as a session player?
Well, it's kind of up to the pacing of the producer.
Mhm.
Different producers can take more time. It it, there, you know, uh, unfortunately, the answer is the budget dictates how fast we move.
That's very true.
I mean, you know, if it's a new artist that really hasn't had a hit song yet, or maybe it's their first record or whatever, and the budget doesn't dictate having like one of the I don't know, more proven producers around town, like maybe the budget, yeah. Point is, we work on songs a little quicker, and the sessions are all 3 hour blocks,
Mm.
and the bigger producers tend to work on one song a session. But when you're working on a new artist and maybe a younger producer you know, but where they haven't completely busted out yet as a household name,
Mhm.
you know, you'll probably do more like 2 to 3 songs in 3 hours.
Mhm.
So, you
Um,
know, maybe a record uh really only takes 3 or 4 days to make in that situation. But on a bigger artist, you can take more time because the budget's there.
budget. Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sorry that if that blows anybody's bubble out there about, but you
No,
have to
it's
be
very
very
true.
mindful. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, look, that they are trying to make money.
Yeah, it's a business. I mean, it's yeah. A lot of people forget that, but
Yeah.
um yeah, so as far as influences, who was like your favorite musical influences? Obviously specifically for guitar.
Okay. Specifically to guitar. Oh man, that's a big one because you accumulate so many over this long of doing it,
Yeah.
this period of time. I don't know. You know, I always came at it from more of the bluesy side or the funky side of things, you know. I can't play like Jerry Reed, but I relate to Jerry Reed. It's very funky and soulful, and you know, I mean, gosh, there's so many greats. All the, you know, I mean, I
It's a hard question.
it's very hard. All the 50, anybody that was playing blues, jazz, country, or rock and roll in the 50s and 60s.
That's your
It's
okay,
all
that's
music.
your people.
I mean, literally all of them.
Right.
Anybody that you've ever heard of. I've devoured a lot of it.
Super cool.
Yeah.
I get that. Um, so like if someone okay, so if someone Nashville is just so cool, but it is kind of like flooded with people trying to chase the same dream. So if someone was like, I want to be a session guitarist, where would you direct them to start and like get their foot in the door, being that there are so many people who have been doing it for years and years and years?
Well, I think you know, so much has changed with the town and the industry, period. When I first got here, it was a whole different game. There were all kinds of open jams you could go out to at bars and really meet a lot of people if you did that consistently. And now I've tried to figure out, pinpoint what today's version of that is. Maybe it's social media, maybe it's, you playing in front of a camera on your iPhone or whatever, I don't know what the version of that is. But one thing hasn't changed is that you can't predict where an opportunity comes from and who's looking at you.
Mhm.
So the whatever format you dive into to make yourself a known face, you just have to be you just have to say yes to everything and not think about things when you're getting started, like, well, is this, I think there are better gigs out there. Well, not for you. You're new. You got to get out there and show people that you're going to bust your ass
Yeah.
and play great and be on time and be on, always produce the results that are better than what they expected, And so I think if you just approach anything like that, no matter how you do it,
Mhm.
that's what's going to speak to people. You just
I
have to
agree
keep up.
100%. I would say if at least like 80% of the people I speak to on these things say their main advice is say yes to everything and learn from everyone.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I mean, say yes, but also be aware, like you will say yes a lot and you will be exhausted, hopefully, for a
Mhm,
while. But then there does come a point where you have to start prioritizing your outside life
mhm.
too, and not saying yes to every little thing. But until that, you'll know when that happens,
I
and
don't know
when
when
that
you get there.
happens, yeah, you
Mm.
know,
So other than guitar, I know you've like written and you've put out some songs in the past and
yeah.
you like other aspects. So do you want to say anything about that? Like do you still actively write and do other things?
Yeah, yeah, I do. And I'm actually right now in the middle of figuring out the best way to release a bunch of stuff that I've recorded,
Hmm.
that I need to put out.
Do it.
Well, no, it's totally happening. It's just a matter of like, you know, what's the best way to do that? It's totally different than it used to be. And I think it's probably, just to your point, just start doing it and learn along the way what works for you. And so yeah, some new stuff is coming pretty soon.
And what kind of feel does it have? Is it more traditional? Is it more bluesy?
Oh, it's yeah, I don't know. All of it's different. I'm not I'm not on a record label. I don't have to take meetings about what I put out. I can put it just has to hit a certain mark of what I really want to say.
Mhm.
And I would say it probably leans it goes in a lot of different directions, but it probably leans a little bit more like uh rock. I mean, you would find it in the rock section if we were still going into but it's not rock music.
Yeah,
You know,
I feel
uh,
it.
go check out one of my YouTube videos with I don't know, wasted words. Go check that one out and see what you think of that. Yeah.
Could you imagine not living in Nashville now, being like you were saying with the community, like the creative community?
Man, I have never thought about moving away from Nashville until and I don't know if I would. I think if I was not really active in the music scene here, I might not live here, but doing what I do for a living, I'm not going to find another place that I can tell that's this active on a daily basis, and you really can play a bunch of different styles of music for a living. I mean, I know we're focusing a lot more on the country stuff, but I mean, as a session player, you get called for all kinds of things that you could never imagine. And it happens in a place like Nashville, where there's a bunch of music business people here bringing artists from all over to here. I mean,
Yeah,
you don't
it's
get that.
kind. Yeah. Um, awesome. So, on average, do you have like so there's no typical week for you? Like there's no like I usually record 3 songs. Okay. That was one of my last questions. And then I'm assuming there's weeks where there's nothing then, right?
I
Or
haven't had one of those in a really long time.
oh, okay, good. That's
I
awesome.
mean, well, yeah, I mean, well, because now, I mean, we all have setups at home. We can overdub for people all the time. So, I mean, if I get like a slow day, by then usually there's like maybe 4 or 5 songs that have accumulated that I need to play on for people from the house. So
Mhm.
that ends up being, like a session day, you
Yeah,
know.
that's pretty cool. That's
Yeah.
pretty all right, so I usually wrap up my interviews with 3 questions.
Okay.
Kind of silly, but kind of fun. So favorite place to hang out in Nashville, any place, and then favorite artist of all time, and then favorite up and coming artist.
Wow. Okay. Uh, my favorite place to hang out in Nashville, believe it or not, is my house.
Yay! I got that last time.
Man, I am out and about all day long, traveling from this studio to this studio to this studio, and I'm around people all day long, and I love all the people I work with. They're hilarious. We have a great time doing what we do. But when it's the evening and you're ready to go home, I'm ready to go home. This is my investment. Why wouldn't I want to spend time here?
Right, I get
Um,
that.
and I get to, and I mean, believe it or not, I come home and I play more guitar because then I can play whatever I want.
Yeah.
Maybe I write a song, or maybe, of course I love everybody that lives at my house, so I can hang out with them and get time with them. But okay, so that's my favorite place to hang out in Nashville.
I love that.
And, let's see, what was the next question?
Favorite all-time artist, like favorite artist ever.
All time, all time. God, that's a really hard one. Man, let's just go with. I always say, I usually say the Beatles, but let's go with the flip of that coin, Rolling Stones.
Ooh, sweet.
Little bit of danger. Let's hit some danger.
Okay, awesome. And then
Yes.
favorite up and coming artist, which people always ask me, wow, does that mean they have a single out, or does that mean they're like just starting? I'm like, it can mean anything. I don't care what it means. Just your favorite up and
Okay.
coming artist.
Well, can we still consider Lainey Wilson an up and coming artist? I mean, she's
Well,
sweeping.
that's actually a hard one. She just like totally won everything.
All right. Well, that would have probably been my answer a year or two ago, let's say. Just because I'm really fascinated with her whole thing, and I love working with her. She's just down to earth and nice, you know.
I bet.
But oh man, up and coming. Gosh, let's say. Oh man, I know I'm gonna make somebody mad.
Maybe you don't answer this.
Well, no, I mean, like I'm excited to see where it goes with Parker McCollum, because I really like those records. They're different. They're different than you know, and I have a good relationship with the producer, and we trust each other musically, so I get to kind of like play a little bit, or get creative in some ways that so I mean, I like that,
Okay,
you
cool.
know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a Parker McCollum.
Well, man, there's so many though. That's the
Yeah, I know
problem.
there
Started
are.
about saying one, and if you're watching this and I've played on your record, I really do love you too.
Yes.
I I just I'm naming one. It just comes to mind, and who knows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
Jackson Dean. You should check out Jackson Dean.
yes. That's
Yeah.
a good up and coming. Yeah, like,
I
yeah.
like him because he's got a sense of danger. I'm looking for danger, man. I want danger back in the fold. I want things that aren't so.
Like out more of the outlaw country type thing, or
Well, I mean, it can be that, but it can also just be like, man, we just played this from the heart. It's not perfect or something. I'm really kind of getting to a point where the stuff that when I hear it back that has some rough edges around it and seems more honest, it comes across as more honest.
right.
That's what draws me in more, makes me listen to the song.
I
If
agree.
I think I know where it's going and then I'm right,
Mhm.
that can get, you know, kind of predictable and boring, you know.
I think more and more people are starting to branch out because they're realizing that it turns out to be very successful. I mean, like a lot of the top songs right now are just different.
Yeah,
So
I'm really I don't play on Zach Bryan's music, but I am completely drawn in by that phenomenon because I want to see where that goes and how it spills over into Nashville as a whole, because we've been kind of still, you know, we've been stagnant for a little while in some areas of
mhm,
popular country music, and I think it's time for something to shake it up. So
I agree.
hopefully this new kind of consciousness is coming in is going to do it.
I think it's happening, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we love what you do. You're super talented. So thanks so much for jumping on.
Thank you. Thanks for asking.
Thank you.